Hey, fellow golfers, this is Robbie from Best Ball. One of the most popular names in the golf accessory market today is Western Birch. Stop reaching in your pocket for boring plastic or plain white golf tees and elevate your game with premium wooden golf tees from Western Birch. You can customize both the hardwood and bamboo tees with one of their signature stripe patterns in a wide variety of colors. These tees are stylish enough to stand apart from the crowd, traditional enough to align with golf's heritage, and durable enough to make you forget about using anything else. Enter the code BESTBALL in the promo field in your shipping cart to add a free gift to your order. So visit westernbirch.com and get your own premium wood golf tees in the style that suits your game.
More. I want to give a shout out as we get going to a group that I had this past weekend. Marcus, Jeff, Bob, and Troy from Montana and Ohio, respectively. They found me first through this podcast, or at least then translated onto Twitter, and we connected. And I wish I would have had you come along with us. They were just the best people.
Yeah.
And then we had the first day of weather where you're like, oh, this is so glorious. We played in 4 hours and 15 minutes instead of
I didn't think you could move that fast.
Yeah, right. And no complaints. It was just one of those days where you're like, this is awesome. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Caddy Tales podcast. I am Mark the Caddy, joining you with my sidekick, colleague, friend, Nick. And we are excited to talk with you once again about how the game of golf and life intersect so beautifully. And we can just take lessons we learn in both places and apply them and grow and just be better and enjoy things. How you doing today, Nick?
Good, buddy. A little tired. We just got off the course, so it's feeling good, man. It's good to be back, like I always say.
I had dreaded loop today, so I think that people who play a lot of golf and ride in carts would know this is the perhaps worst way to do it.
Yeah.
We got a lot of rain yesterday, and I had to caddy for 4 people today. Cart path only. So
that's brutal.
Just the worst way to play golf, but there's no way around it. We had a monsoon yesterday and just made it work. A lot of running around, so the feet are aching a little bit, but I'm glad to be here to talk a little bit more. I want to give a shout out as we get going to a group that I had this past weekend. Marcus, Jeff, Bob, and Troy from Montana and Ohio, respectively. They found me first through this podcast, or at least then translated onto Twitter, and we connected. And I wish I would have had you come along with us. They were just the best people.
Yeah.
And then we had the first day of weather where you're like, oh, this is so glorious. We played in 4 hours and 15 minutes instead of
I didn't think you could move that fast.
Yeah, right. And no complaints. It was just one of those days where you're like, this is awesome. Really enjoyed being with them and really enjoyed them reaching out, and I hope their time was as good as my time. And thanks for listening. And any of you else out there, if you are listening and you want to meet Nick or I, please feel free to be in touch. And obviously, if you don't want to meet us, then don't be in touch. But the makeup of that group on Sunday was one that sometimes it has its challenges. And that's what we want to talk about today, is the DNA of the various types of groups that we see, generally speaking, most often on the course. This was a father and son, and then another guy and his son-in-law, and the guy who was father and son had his soon-to-be son. Basically fathers and sons. I can't remember all the connections. And so that's a makeup on the course that we see quite often. And I was going to throw out to you, Nick, then, along with that kind of group, not that we can't see mothers and sons, but quite frequently, most frequently, it's fathers and sons. We see certain makeup more often than not. And none are necessarily good or bad. We're just going to talk about how maybe some provide a little bit different, maybe some challenges, and at the same time, some opportunities, and then vice versa. So these are the groups that I want to throw out there that I think we see most often. Maybe you'll add something to it. Number 1, father and son, which we just mentioned.
Yep.
Number 2, couples. Okay?
Yeah.
So either husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever. Couples. Then what I would call the country club group. Okay, so that's actually what I had today. Was people who all belong to the same club somewhere, and either they're pro or somebody there organizes a trip, and they all come together. So that happens quite frequently. Number 4, I put down college buddies. Now, it could be high school buddies. I've had elementary school buddies that are still doing this 50 years later. Yeah. But mostly it is college buddies, guys who got to know each other for college. And then this is the one time a year that they get together all together. Yeah. And I think that's pretty awesome. So college buddies. Then we've got the corporate group. So some company is hosting. Sometimes there's maybe one person from that company in the group, and then the other 3 are customers, or maybe a company's rewarding all 4 for a good sales year, whatever, but a corporate group. So people playing as benefactors of some company. And then I added one that I hadn't given you earlier when we were kind of planning this out, and I would just call it notable people, whether it's, and this isn't as frequent, but like pro athletes, celebrities, those types of folks. Okay? You got any groups that I missed there, Nick, that we see most often?
I think you've covered them all. I mean, this is kind of covered under father son, but yeah, I get a lot of like families, like the whole family, like wife, husband, sons, a few of those.
So you do get that occasionally. Yeah, I actually had a player get a hole-in-one when his mom was walking along, and it was him and his brothers and his dad, and thought, well, they're going to talk about that for a while around the dinner table, so that's pretty cool.
I thought of one. Like a tournament group. Would be one, I guess. Yeah.
So maybe the course is hosting a tournament. Now, some of our tournaments are that people pay to play. They're like an AM tour type thing or whatever. And so there are those groups on occasion. That actually is one that is good to note because it creates a whole different vibe than some of these other ones, for sure. So out of those that we just talked about, which one do you find the least challenging? Like, you walk up to the bag drop, and for you listening out there, on most days, unless somebody has requested us to be their caddy, whether because they saw us on something like this or because we had them the day before and then we're going with them the next day. On most days, when we walk up to the bag drop, we have no clue who we're going to caddy for. Which group are you probably most relieved or excited to see out of all those?
I kind of lean towards like college buddies. They're usually there to have fun, and I've usually got lots in common with those guys. So those are like the most frequent rounds that I play outside of work. So that's kind of my comfort zone, I guess I'd say.
Yeah. I think probably similar. I like some of the makeups more than some of the other caddies do. I think we're all different. I think we all have our preferences. I find like caddying for a couple much more enjoyable and easier than some other guys that I know. And it is what it is. But I think a college buddy group, when I talk about the different DNA of a group, if there's going to be a loop that is most likely to just be super fun, it's most likely to come out of that group, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And then which one, Nick, though, do you find the most challenging? I might have just answered it for you.
Yeah, well, I said couples, actually. I went that route. I've got a hard time sometimes, like, if the husband likes to be the wife's caddy and just kind of, like, steps all over my toes, and I don't want to step on his toes because he's 95% of the time he's the one paying, so I don't want to get in his way, but I also want I want the wife to have proper information and
Right.
all that stuff. So
Well, I find this happens a lot when I have a couple. Is one of the two, usually it's the man, but it's not always, one of the two will come and whisper in my ear, hey, just take care of them. So a lot of times it's the guy, because let's face it, a lot of times the guy his wife, he dragged her along, or she's not as passionate or as serious about it. Or she's just more intimidated by the surroundings because it's a lot of golf course.
Yes.
And so he'll come, just take care of her. If we're on separate sides or whatever, pay attention to her. I'll be okay. And I find that kind of interesting. I have also found though on those loops, the woman is quite often a little bit skittish about, like, very in tune to pace of play. You just wonder, like, how much has that been hammered into her when she started the game of golf? Because it's like they stress it so much and usually do a good job with it. So I think some guys struggle with it because of all the groups, it's the one you're very most likely to have people at different tee boxes.
Yes.
Wide variances of play and ability. Maybe interest level, and then usually it's not a big party. You'll get some young couples every now and then, but the vast majority of our couples are probably a little more seasoned in age and aren't hammering the double Tito's and lemonades like some
like
of
the
the
college
other ones.
buddies.
Yeah, right. So, it's not quite as rambunctious or natural and easy as some other ones, but I like. One of the things about women that is very, very true as a generality is it's an easier day as far as walking straight.
Oh, yeah.
And even club selection a lot of times. It's just easy. Yeah. And so hold that thought, though, because we're going to talk a little bit about women when they're not part of a couple later on, because it is different. The father-son group, maybe a little something about their DNA, Nick, that I find, and maybe you do too, is it's the same challenge for a caddy maybe who's focused on money, these top two groups, because it's usually one pocket paying for two people. We don't talk a lot about tipping on here because we want to be very respectful both of our employer and of people, but just I would note, like, that's one person taking care of it for two people. It's a little bit more of a challenge for them, or just a sticker shock or whatever.
Yeah.
But the father-son group, what I enjoy about that is, one, I have a son that I envision doing this with in the future. And I think you'll see sometimes just some special moments, like when you're done on 18, for instance, they give each other a hug. It just means a lot. Do you find you have the same experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, actually caddied for a father and son yesterday, and they were awesome. But yeah, they had like this little competitive talking back and forth, but it was all like good natured, where they didn't actually care about the match, like they were like rooting for each other, but it was awesome. And I actually I committed a caddy sin by telling the son that his dad was 1 under heading to the 16th tee box, and he proceeded to tell his dad, and I was like, oh, jeez, here we go. Yeah, bogeyed out, and then,
Yeah. One of the things that I really love seeing, and I've had this now a couple times, even already this year, is when the son, if the dad's older, a lot of golf course to walk, how the son really looks out for his dad.
Absolutely.
It's almost like a little passing of the torch, and how he's really cognizant of his dad, and also a little bit in awe of him. Like, hey, thanks, Dad, for coming and doing this with me, because I know it's not easy. And I really love that. I really enjoy it. So, there's good things about all these groups and challenges. Like I said, you might not make as much money on those, and there's exceptions to every rule, but you also have some really special moments that you're sharing with them. And I appreciate that. Like, I had a couple once, and I write about this in my book, that, the guy proposed to her after the loop. And last year, I know somebody got proposed to on the 18th green or something. And, pretty neat that they choose our place, not because it's so special. And I like that. If I was going to say the one that I can struggle with the most, and it's probably different than a lot of caddies, is kind of the big group that comes from a country club. Not always, because you get a lot of those groups.
Yeah.
But it starts right off the bat that in most of them, it's, 16, 20 men, and you go up there, and they're all under, whatever, Pine Hills Country Club.
Yes.
And you see 5 tee times. And just trying to get them to tell you who's playing in which group.
Yeah, so they don't do a very good job of organizing that beforehand or make it well known. Yeah.
I mean, I one of these days, you're just going to have an aneurysm. And I used to be like, my first year, my old tendencies that kind of caused me to screw up my old life would come out, where I'm all anxious and trying to get it all under control and feeling like I'm the only one who's caring and what. Now it's just like...
Yeah.
Whatever. It's time to go up there. There's going to be some bags in my hand, and
they'll be at the starters table. They have to be. They don't have a choice. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that more than anyone, it's like, guys, and you'll ask them, hey, do you guys know which group you're in? Yeah. And they'll basically,
yeah.
And then they just grab like their putter to go off to the practice green or whatever. And you're like, okay, obviously not interested in figuring that out either.
No.
So.
I think a lot of times they're just like thinking about who they don't want to play with also, so that probably puts a little wrench in there, but yeah.
Yeah. And so logistically that's a challenge. And then I would say that a lot of times these are people who maybe the day isn't as special for because they've done it.
Yeah.
More.
Yep.
And there's less chit chat. Like I've been out on, a lot of groups, you're chit-chatting, like if you're with a couple, how many kids do you have, where are you from, whatever. And I've been out on 2 groups this year where there was 0 of that, like none. And it's going to be more prone to come from there. Now, you'd be like, oh, I love it, whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, yeah. I'm fine with it. I wouldn't say I love it, but yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't not want to hear about people's families and
then
stuff.
even sometimes you're just like wondering how much they're enjoying themselves because it's just not, they're usually, I think if you're going to have a match, you see it in every makeup, but country club and college buddies probably more than the other ones, and country club
for sure, yeah. And they usually have like 5 different matches going on, and I can't keep up with it. And I like knowing like where everyone's at, like where I can tell people they have strokes and stuff like that, and it makes it really difficult.
Even then, they're strong-willed. So like the other day, they're doing Wolf and I'm like, we got to play ready golf here, Like,
there's no ready golf with Wolf, that's for sure.
Yeah, so like I don't care who the Wolf is, somebody get up and hit, and So you'll have a lot of betting or a lot of games going on, a little more serious, and then it's like, maybe comparing, they know each other's games. And so it is the one where you'll like give them a read or tell them a club and they think they know the other player better.
It's a 7. Yeah.
Yeah. And which is, I guess, fine. I mean, but it's like, you wonder sometimes if they realize like they're stepping on your toes or that maybe what they do at their home course doesn't necessarily apply to this situation. Like, for instance, a question I was asked recently was about the wind with putts. Yeah. Like, does the wind affect them? And, like, they said, where we live, that's not a thing. And so then I'm thinking, well, then why would you be in a, 30-mile-an-hour wind reading this guy's putt? Maybe defer a little bit. But it's just, I think, they don't mean anything by it, so you can't get offended. And they just know each other and each other's games really well. Oh, that's your 7. Oh, that's your... And sometimes that's a real help, too, because if somebody's in between clubs or whatever, that can be helpful. But I find that it's also one where it's like they just don't... we don't need our bread buttered every day, and we don't need people cooing over us and, singing our
Mm-hmm.
praises. It's our job. But I
Mm-hmm.
would say if there's a group that maybe doesn't appreciate it as openly, it can kind of
Yeah.
come from that group in my experience. So,
Yeah. I could agree with that. Yeah, and they can be quick to throw you under the bus as well.
oh yeah,
Not everyone, but
no,
yeah,
no.
it
Yes, here's our
happens.
disclaimer, folks. We are speaking in gross generalizations here,
Hmm.
for sure. The college buddies one. Now, if you're going to see a guy get absolutely loaded, alcohol
Hmm.
wise, it's going to most likely be from that group.
Agreed.
Yeah. I put up in that spirit, it was on my mind because I knew we were doing this today. I threw up
Hmm.
a post on X this morning, and I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't
On
see it.
one
No.
side is the guy, the Lattimore, I think, from the program and the movie, and he's like on steroids, and he's got his face painted like before their first game. So I put a
Hmm.
picture of him on the left, and then on the right, I put a picture of Frank Gallagher from Shameless sitting in
Hmm.
his hospital gown at the bar. And I said, day one versus day four of the college buddies golf tournament.
Yeah, that's pretty true. Yeah, yeah.
And so it's gotten like a few 100,000 views and a bunch of retweets because everyone's
Wow.
like, yeah, accurate.
Yeah,
And like,
it
you'll
is.
see these guys, they'll get off the plane and they come right to the course. A lot of times their first round is the same day that they landed. They haven't even checked into the hotel yet. They got 4 days. And before you're through the turn window, they've hammered 3 double somethings.
Hmm.
And you're like, are you going to be able to keep that pace?
Hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Crazy, crazy.
They're professionals, Mark.
What's that?
They're professionals.
They're professionals.
They know what they're doing.
But it's kind of neat. Like they choose the golf course to get together once a year, and I'll notice like, they have a deep bond, but they obviously aren't in. A lot of times they're from different parts of the country now, and so
Hmm.
they'll be walking down the fairway, and you'll hear, "Hey, is the family good?" How because they haven't caught up, and so they're using
Hmm.
our place to catch up now. What happens in the college buddy group is also something that I think happens in the corporate group. And that is, those are the groups where you're most likely to see somebody who can't play golf.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's like the buddy who just comes along for the party.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then that leads to the corporate group. Have you had any yet this year?
Um, yes, one.
Yeah. How was the
Yep.
quality of golf?
It was good. Pretty average, I guess.
Yeah.
Nothing terrible, that's for sure. So,
So I had a caddy come up to me after my loop today, and this is what can happen kind of on a corporate loop more often than it does any other one. He comes up and he said his player told him before the round that he hasn't swung a golf club in 25 years. So
Yeah, that
he's
sounds
out
about
there
right.
caddying on one of the toughest golf courses in America today
Yeah.
for a guy who hasn't played in 25 years. Now, the freeing part about that is a lot of times they pick up the ball and move on. Or
Hopefully.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
But you'll get a lot of corporate players who will say, "Oh, I haven't played yet this year," or "I haven't played since last year," and they're giving you their little disclaimers. And the golf can be really, really ugly. And do you ever have? I think that's the one group, corporate groups, where we should have more scrambles out there. Somebody asked me the other day,
Yeah.
"Hey, do you have a lot of scrambles?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "No." How many do you? I mean, you've caddied a long time.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've had many ever in all your years?
Yeah. I would say probably like 2 or 3 a year. I've seen caddies like just be like, "Here's what we're doing today. We're gonna play a scramble." Like if it's known that no one in the group plays golf,
Yeah.
like they're like, "We're playing scramble today."
So last
Uh-huh.
year was the only time I've done that where I just said on the back nine, we got to play a scramble. Like, we just can't
Yeah.
do this, And they were like, "Oh, we can do that? Oh, yeah." Like, because they're there for work. They're not golf
Yeah.
lovers, they're there for work. They're there for the networking. They're there for the party. And
Yep.
so I'm like, we should do this more often because it's a nightmare sometimes. And then other times there's still like the player who's really good.
Yeah,
It's not,
yeah.
there's,
Get those
but
once in
there's,
a while.
more likely going to be some really bad play. And then the final one we mentioned was notable people, celebrities. I find them to be hit or miss. They're either going to be really, really, they're never bad people or whatever, but they're either really, really friendly or so introverted because they're guarded.
Yeah. I don't know, I've had a few, and I think I've only run into like maybe one person that I really despised. So, yeah.
You know who's interesting is when you get a coach of a sport and you can see how they're wired.
Yeah.
And, they're coaching you out there on the course. They're in charge 100% of the time. They just don't know how to not be
absolutely.
in charge. Yeah.
I've literally seen that happen before. And they're just like so competitive that they have to win. So it's cool to watch. It's cool to watch like their thought process in action.
As an aside, one of the things I've learned, everyone who, like, people who achieve some level of greatness, in whatever capacity, oftentimes they're hard to get along with. And I think it just comes with the the reason I bring that up is I've learned to cut them some slack, because it's like the maybe this personality flaw for a casual round of golf or having coffee is also the same reason why they went and invented something that cures diseases or made Bitcoin or whatever. It's they're pretty hard charging, high driving people, and so they can be difficult to get along with, and yet you just deal with it. But like, I've also found that some of the pro athletes I've caddied for just couldn't be more gracious and friendly, and I've always appreciated that. Because, you hear the phrase, never meet your heroes. And I think there's a certain element of that being real. But there have been some where I've been pretty thankful. So, we kind of shared some distinctions between these groups and, a little bit of where the best and worst golf comes from. So what I want to shift to next, Nick, is a makeup of a group that I did not see. This is year 6. And I want to say I did not see more than one of these groups my first 4 years. And then last year I probably had 5 or 6 or 7 of them. And that is the 4 women group.
Yeah.
Have you had many of those?
I remember last year you convinced me to take a late afternoon loop with a few ladies.
For a women's golf league. We killed it.
Yeah.
Man.
They
3 hours, 9 holes. Yeah, it was awesome.
They were ready to party too. Yeah, they were ready to party.
They liked to party.
They wanted us to party with them too.
Yeah, they wanted birdie shot, birdie juice.
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah, we can't do that. Sorry. They tried though. They tried real hard.
She just right away. She just comes out. She's got it going. And we're like, no. But I found that crazy that all of a sudden I had it. Like last year I was on 2 days in a row of a tournament that was held with just all women.
Yeah, I had one of those last year too. Yeah. Yep.
And the reason why I bring it up, and again, there's good and bad, they couldn't be more different most of the time than when you have a husband and a wife.
Yeah,
because
that's
when you
true.
have a husband and wife, almost always the husband is the type A. All right, and the woman is not as serious about golf. There are exceptions, all right? You do get some strong women who are just like the husband out there. But I have found 100% of the time when I caddy for 4 women, they are serious. I mean, like, more serious than just about any group you could ever caddy for.
Really?
And they are not afraid to share their thoughts.
Yeah, true. I like caddying for lady groups.
I do
they
too.
Can be a lot of fun. Yeah, they can be a lot of fun.
It's just a distinction. And last year when I started caddy for them, I just noticed they give a lot of feedback on how you're doing.
I would say too, like, they listen a lot better than the men do.
They want way more information. Yes.
Yeah.
They tend to want more information, and they tend to, until proven otherwise, trust it like it's gospel.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We always have to repeat like the number on the tee box like 6 times for the men's groups. Yeah, that never has to happen with women's groups, which is nice.
Yeah, today I did have one moment where I'm like, standing there and the guy's like, I said, I'm just waiting for them to pull up so I don't have to repeat this 3 times because it was kind of, you know, and
Yeah.
and then you still like, how far is it? You know,
Yeah.
and
What's it playing? Yeah.
yeah, you know,
What's the
what-
target?
Yeah, right, right. Oh, and, you know, for the 17th, and there, I always appreciate when there's that player in the group
That
who kind of
realizes.
like
Yeah.
will finally
Yeah.
tell his buddy to pay attention, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Women will pay much closer attention. Generally speaking, they will really accept the information and help.
I'm not even saying generally speaking as far as that goes. That's across the board for me.
Yeah, right. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
Yeah.
And but I have found them to be super serious. And you know, a lot of times they've been widowed. Not all the times. Like I had last year a group of widows, but then they had somebody younger along with them, and or at least I think they were widows, but there was an age gap there, and it was awesome fun and super cool. And so I really enjoy it. But I think that we're going to see more of it than we have in the past as women's golf gets more popular. Like it really hasn't been something, but I think we'll see more of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, like you said, women's golf's growing like crazy. So yeah, I could definitely see it. Plus, they're probably like, you know, our husbands are always getting away for golf trips. Why don't we get into that? So
Yeah, I remember. Speaking of that, I've had one all women's group a few years ago, and I think I write about this in the book where they are taking shots at each of the things and dropping the F-bomb and whatever. And there's like a sensory issue going on in my head. Like it just feels different
feel
than
right.
when a man's
Yeah.
doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And let's say you're with a group of men and you're maybe not clicking as much. There's nothing necessarily likable about it. And most times it doesn't matter. But like when a woman is dropping the F-bomb or whatever, and you know I'm not a big potty mouth, like for some reason when a woman does it, it just seems sweeter and like more endearing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. And I hope and pray that I'm, you know, choosing my words wisely here because the moral of the story is we love it. And, you know, as we make some of these leaps, we know we're painting with a broad brush and stuff, but it's pretty cool.
Can I tell you something real quick?
Yeah.
I caddied for a wife of a coach who used to coach at a school that you are very not fond of. And she played in the women's group. Yeah, she played in the women's group, and she was like super, super cool. Yeah, I liked her a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. Yes, I can only imagine what school that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one I want to touch on, Nick, is there's distinctions across generations that I really notice out there. So let's just take away whether they're college buddies or corporate or whatever. A younger group versus an older group, there's some real distinctions. Do you see them?
Yeah. Well, I've noticed lately that older people are a lot more willing to call their ball lost than younger people are. Younger people will look and look and look.
Yeah, right. I find this is an interesting thing. I find that older people play faster.
Yeah, maybe that's kind of like what I'm getting at, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think they all maybe a lot of them belong to clubs where pace of play is hammered into their heads. And I find that you're getting more younger people who have got these ridiculous swing routines that take forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they don't want they don't want to give up on a ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's brutal for us, but yeah, I can see that. I don't know. It varies by group. Like, I don't know. I can't say that it's just across the board.
Young or old, most of our players are all type A leader type players, you know, high achieving people. A lot of them are. And so there tends to be common traits that go along with that transcend age or gender or where they particularly flew in from or whatever. But yeah, we didn't even touch on that. We could do a whole show on maybe we'll do that sometime. Different regions of the country, how different groups are.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, like I tweeted the other, like I had a group from South Carolina the other day.
We'll make everyone upset.
Yeah, right. I had a group from South Carolina the other day. Just loved them, and you know they're doing the same things that maybe somebody from somewhere else does, but because they say yes sir, yes sir,
yeah.
You know, it was like I mean, it's like they could be like shotgunning a beer, throwing their club, F-bombing it all around, and then it's like, but they do it with a tone that is just like, you want to crawl into their lap and have them read you a story. It's super...
That's how I feel when Robbie's talking to us, so shout out Robbie.
Yeah, Robbie, our producer from South Carolina. I've never been to South Carolina, and I want to move to South Carolina.
It's awesome.
I haven't met anyone from there who isn't wonderful, so that's pretty cool. Okay, Nick, as we close here, let's finish with our segment, Good Caddy, Bad Caddy. What's something good you did in the last week?
Probably today I was caddying for a guy, and his brother said to him, hey, this is probably your best putting day ever or whatever. And he's like, I think I'm just getting good reads. And I'm like, that's me. So that was nice to hear. It's always good to get a compliment like that.
For me, something I'm happy about today, and this is something I've been working on getting in better shape, and losing some weight. Today out on the course, when I had to do the cart path and 4-caddy, I was just able to run pretty tirelessly and get around way better than I have in the past.
There you go.
So,
good job, man.
I'm pretty thankful, and because you don't want people waiting forever for you to get them a distance or whatever, because they're standing by their cart waiting to walk down, and so I'm pretty thankful for that. I'm going to keep trying to shed the weight and do that. What's something you'd wish you had back this week? What's something bad?
Probably taking the cut yesterday.
Yes. So listeners, Nick and I are getting a lot of heat. Nick more than me, but both of us, about our goal to hit 175 loops this year.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, you got to caddy most of the days. There's 180 days in our season, and
it was a monsoon yesterday too. By the way,
so yesterday we get there, and our manager comes out, and he's like, he sees we were both scheduled to be off today, because until next week we're on just this random schedule that was made, and so our days off aren't in a routine that we'll get used to it come next week. But anyway, we were both scheduled to be off tomorrow. For today. And he comes out and it's like, you guys are off tomorrow. You want to pick up tomorrow and leave right now? And it's like, don't have to ask me twice. And I'm like, well, we could have worked yesterday and today. But that's not how our brains work. And in hindsight, yesterday looked completely miserable. And,
one of our buddies told me he went 10 holes in, I think, 8 hours. He was at the course, so... Because there's two delays, so...
2 delays, standing water all over the place. The green... Our course drains unbelievably.
Well.
With standing water all over the place. And,
I think I didn't see how many inches of rain we got, but I know it was a few, so it was pretty brutal.
Yeah. And, for me, I think that something that I would have back is that... I've had a few loops where it's just been a little harder than normal to connect, and that's like kind of you're just a little more distant, as far as how and you really want to get in tune with them so that you learn what they like, what they need, and all that stuff. And I had like 2 loops this week where it was just kind of hard to connect, and then like we talk about, though, every day is different. I had 2 loops this week where it's like, do I need to send these people a Christmas card now? It's just so great.
I feel like you get a lot more of those loops than the not being able to connect. And
that's why I think I notice it more, because like I try to get to know the players and try to make sure they're having a good time and stuff. And when you have people who are kind of disinterested in that and just kind of forging ahead and stuff, it's hard to get even a feel for their game. And also they were just kind of less reliant than a lot of people are. And so then it's just trying to figure out that sweet spot between, okay, shut up, because if they don't want your help, don't force it on them, versus let's make sure they know you're here too to help, so I probably overthink it. And with that said, though, we are fortunate. As I look at myself in the camera here, not only can I see a little thinner face, Nick, can you?
Yeah, you're You're a beaut.
Yeah, right. No, I can see that I'm already getting a little bit of a tan
Yeah, same, man.
and
My
being
face is
outside.
red.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Because we've been like mixing just horrendous weather with then we had like 2 days where it's like I could sleep out here and live out here on the
Yeah.
course.
Today was like that, yeah.
Weird. And today was beautiful. Yeah, and tomorrow's not going to be so much. So it is what it is. All right, friends, we are so thankful you joined us. And whatever makeup you are, if you're a couple, if you're a group of college buddies, if you're from some club somewhere and you're coming out, we just want you to have the best time of your life and make it memorable. And if we get to be a small part of that, well, isn't that the greatest job? So, with that, I am here to remind you that life is a lot like the game of golf on this side of the ground. No matter how many shanks or flubs we've had, there's always another shot full of hope and opportunity. So take yours.